Happy holidays and welcome to the Jam session, where we explore enterprise technology across various tech domains. I'm your host, Cher Fox, and today we're bringing together the women shaping the future of security, not just through technology, but through leadership, clarity, and courage. So, this episode is all about a question every CEO is quietly asking: what is actually keeping me up at night? And more importantly, why? Because the truth is, the pressure on cybersecurity teams isn't coming from one direction, it's coming from all sides. AI is changing the way how we work and how we respond and even how we think about risk. Threats feel more personal, more unpredictable, and harder to spot than ever before. And on top of that, leaders are trying to prepare their teams for a future filled with rapid innovation, shifting regulations, and a whole lot of unknowns. We're going to break down the conversation into three big themes, not the technical details, but the human experience behind them. We're going to talk about how AI is shaping the day-to-day reality of cybersecurity, why modern threats feel different from the ones we grew up with, and what it really takes to lead our teams when the ground is constantly moving under our feet. So let's get into it. I'm joined by an illustrious panel of diverse women in the cyberspace whom I admire and am truly honored to call not only my colleagues in the tech space, but also my friends. Wing, please introduce yourself, your company, and your role.
Yeah, hi. Happy to be here and be a part of this amazing podcast. So, my name is Wing Yen Lorong. People know me as Wing. I work for Panelists, who is a parent company of MindBody ClassPass, and I am the manager of the enterprise security and engineering team.
Wonderful. How exciting. Miss Gael, please introduce yourself.
Thank you so much, Chair, for having me. I am Gail Kwanda. I'm a cybersecurity professional. I work for BAE System. I'm an ISSO. I'm also a community leader. I work in GRC, and I'm deeply involved in leadership and workforce development in cybersecurity.
Wonderful. Miss Laura.
So I am a director at Kaiser Permanente. I lead a vulnerability management team. I'm the vice president of ISSA International. I'm also the president of the Northern Colorado chapter for ISSA. I participate either in or do volunteer work for several cybersecurity groups. And my focus is primarily on training the next generation of cybersecurity experts, getting them networked with the right people because it's so hard to get jobs these days, and just trying to support people with networking.
Wonderful. I think one theme we're going to find is you ladies are all very busy, especially giving back to your community. So we appreciate that immensely. And Ms. Quintana.
Thanks for having me, Cher. I'm really excited to be here. My name is Quintana Patterson. I am a cybersecurity and technology manager for WISIS, which is Women in Cybersecurity. My role is everything, anything IT, cybersecurity, anything related to anything technology. That's my responsibility. I'm also a founding member, board member for Lyft, which is under the CSA umbrella, and I do mentoring and just overall community leader. So I just recently relocated from Colorado to Georgia. So I love being on this panel because I miss my Colorado community. So great to be here.
We miss you too, but we're thankful that you do come back and see us every now and again. So, well, thank you all for being here. I'm really excited about the conversation ahead. Let's focus on the elephant in every IT meeting, AI. Not just the tools and models, but the ripple effects on people, processes, and expectations. Cyber teams are feeling new pressures, new opportunities, and sometimes new uncertainties as AI becomes part of our daily operations. Let's start by exploring how AI is reshaping conversations, workflows, and decision-making across security teams. Laura, how is AI reshaping the day-to-day experience of cyber teams?
I think anyone who is listening to this podcast knows that AI is everywhere. It's not just in cute little videos. I don't know if you all saw, there's a video of bunnies hopping on a trampoline. AI generated, right? There have been some really interesting things that have been released, but AI generated fraud is probably one of the biggest drivers we're seeing today in the economy. Recent statistics came out that AI led fraud cases increased by 1,300% year over year. So we're looking at 1.2 billion customer calls today are being conducted with artificial intelligence for fraud. And the biggest kind of affected groups for this is actually in the crypto environment. Crypto scams are up about 40%, which is pretty huge. And it's causing a lot of money loss. And I happen to know somebody recently who was defrauded and lost something in the realm of like $200,000 because of a AI generated scam that made this individual lose their crypto wallet. So there's a lot of effects for folks that are seeing just deepfake fraud. And it's video, right? It's audio. You all probably saw last year in 2024, there was a firm in Hong Kong where somebody received a phone call. They were started by a phishing attack that said, hey, we need to do these transactions. They got on a video call. They saw what they thought was their CFO. And then they started sending out millions of dollars. It took something like 15 transactions before they were like, this doesn't feel right. And it's because we trust each other, right? If you see someone in person and you can hear their voice, you emphatically trust them. And that's just a psychological effect of artificial intelligence.
Wow, that is so true. So was the drunk raccoon in the bathroom of the liquor store real?
I hope so. Out of recovery, they let him stay in the drunk tank for the night, and they've released him. And now the state of Virginia has started cocktails inspired by that raccoon. So if you'd like to try a dirty panda martini or whatever they're calling it, there's a whole series of drinks inspired by him.
And then
I don't even like the way that sounds. Like, all I hear is dirty panda. And I'm like, no, thank you. I don't want nothing dirty in my adult beverage. Thank you.
oh, honestly, I did not know it was true.
Yeah, there's a CISOs selling t-shirts while raising money.
Still, wait, I'm sorry. I have a question. So the crypto, that made me not laugh because anybody losing anything is horrific. However, knowing crypto, there's no guidelines or anything around crypto as it is. Like, I've seen one of my favorite shows is a show called Traffic. And she's an investigative reporter that did a whole behind the scenes on how crypto and the red carpet works. So if you add AI fraud on top of the fraudulent activities that happen within crypto without AI, I'm wondering how lucrative crypto will continue to be, especially with no federal guidelines around either or. Like, there's no guidelines for anything. It's like a free for all in quote unquote in both areas. So the fact that people are still comfortable mining and dealing in crypto in the day of AI is pretty scary. It's pretty scary.
That is a really good point.
What's interesting in crypto that's very similar to banking is that you still have to authenticate, right? And so banks have relied on for years something know your customer and anti-money laundering checks. And these can both be defeated with AI. So if you call into your bank and you use voice recognition, which is available for some banks, that's really easy to spoof. You and I are all right now on a recorded session. And so they can use just 60 seconds of your audio to replicate your voice. And I've done this, right? There are free and open source products through Hugging Face and Google. You can stand it up for free. You can get it launched in probably 15 minutes. I replicated someone's voice in less than 2 minute segments that I pulled and I just stripped off of YouTube.
It's funny you say that. When I heard that this was possible, I called my son's school. We have a code. Because sometimes I will call them and let them know that someone else is going to pick up my kid. Because I know that someone can clone my voice and call your school and send someone to pick up my kid. I call your school. I'm like, hey, I'm a single mom, blah, 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 blah. This is our code. Whenever I call, please ask me for my codes and I will give you my code and then someone will come and get my son. I'm not playing with that. I'm so scared. Because I've seen on TV that they can kidnap your kid by cloning your voice. You can call someone and say, hey, I'm your mother. I'm not going to be able to pick you today. My friend from work is coming to pick you. And the kid was kidnapped. I don't remember it was in which state, but it had happened last year.
Okay, you guys are so really
Rail, protect the family.
yeah. And I recommend this for everyone, right? Have a code word with your family. Don't share that code word with anyone else, because common attacks that happen today are grandparents being called by their grandkids, right? AI generated content. And the two most common things we're seeing is, hey, I'm out of the country and I'm in the hospital. I'm out of the country. I was in a car accident. Or I'm out of the country and I got arrested. I need money. I need it now. I need it wired, which of course is not traceable once it hits its destination. And unfortunately, this is hitting an older generation.
Gail, one thing you could do is to give your school one code and give your son a different one.
Okay. Okay, that's smart. Yeah.
Backup authentication.
I have this shirt that says, actually, it was actually tattooed on me too. It says, trust no one. Like in cybersecurity, the whole model is trust and verify. I was like, no, verify then trust. Prove to me who you are, and then we can exchange information. But I saw something. It was an interview with Kamala Harris, and somebody was making fun of her because she still had the plugged in, earplugs in with the not auxiliary but USB, and she was like, "I've been in this space. I know what they can and cannot do. I'm not using earbuds for whatever I'm listening to on my phone." And I was like, and people make fun of me because I still use those.
We do use the tried and true thing, don't we?
Yeah, because we know better. Not everybody has that, that knowledge. So.
Yeah, and I think that goes into, as Quintana said, with cybersecurity, like with AI, as Laura said, like it's everywhere, whether we like it or not, right? And we can't ignore it. But we also can't throw caution into the wind when it comes to AI. Like, have to take that strategic approach. We have to ease teams into it. Like being in security, again, like we're inherently suspicious. Trust no one, as Quintana says, and really question like what risk can using AI in our environments, what risk will that introduce? So a lot of things to consider there.
How do leaders build trust in AI-driven recommendations in your space?
Cybersecurity leaders or executive leaders? Because there's a big difference. Executive leaders just like, oh, I found this new tool. Let's use it. Let's create an AI bot for our members. Let's put AI on our website. And I'm like, why? I said this earlier this week to somebody. It's executive leadership has to ensure that their staff understand the why behind the what. Like, what is the reason for this? How are we going to use it? I think we're past the ability of just acquiring tools just because they are pretty or fancy or they do something that leadership believes that's going to work. We as technologists have to be a little bit more diligent in ensuring that we understand the why so we can acquire that why back to the business need. Because for us, everything is about risk. What is the risk associated with using this tool? Even more so than just the cybersecurity risk model that we use. We really have to have an understanding of the tools that are going to be used, how they're supposed to be used, and who's supposed to be using them. So I think we have to be able to work hand in hand when these tools are being looked at. And we're still not the department of no. We're just the department of let's pause and let's review.
I think going back to one of the statements you made earlier, Katana, is that trust but verify, but that is the most important piece of artificial intelligence. Implementing any tool that is using AI technology today still needs to have a human in the middle. And what I advocate to leadership is, okay, if you're going to use a SOC tool, a SIM and a SOAR, and it's going to use artificial intelligence to help kind of close the gap, right, and reduce the overall noise, you still need a human being involved. You can, right? There are tools today that will auto remediate or will auto shut down things, but we all work in a real business, right? And in my sector and in the government sector, if you shut down communication for whatever reason, you could be impacting a mission, communication that is valid, right? Patient care, whoever, right? Like there's a lot of things that are involved. So it's not a silver bullet. It is, I think, the number one thing to tell leaders. AI is not going to fix it for you. Two, you can't just fire your entire team to replace them with robots. I think that's what a lot of people think, right? And it doesn't work on its own, right? It needs to be, there's care and feeding. I always recommend, right? Have great data scientists because you're training based off of your data. Your data could be wrong. Your data could be biased. Your data could be a lot of things, right? And in Colorado, which is interesting, there's an AI law that came into effect. And in it, it says you cannot let artificial intelligence make decisions based off of, right? Financial decisions, housing decisions, medical decisions. And those are things that other states can really take a page from Colorado and say, hey, these make sense for us.
Colorado is typically at the forefront of lawmaking, that makes it great for those of us that live here, although we have to keep up. So, Lori, you talked about kind of dispelling the myths around the AI hype. What else is out there that we need to tell people? Well, we know you heard this, but that's not real. That's not true.
Oh, there's
around AI.
Yeah, there's some great videos right now. NPR News released what did they call it? It was AI sludge or something like that. And essentially, it's like little snippets that here are videos. For example, there's one of a police officer being yelled at. A New York police officer yelling at an ICE enforcement officer. And so it asks, is this real or not? And then there's another video of a ICE agent throwing a smoke grenade out of a window, right? There's one of a moose walking through a village, and there's a fourth one. And I would encourage everyone to try it. Try your hand out at detecting whether or not these videos are artificial intelligence. Now, what I will tell you is it takes a lot of compute to make these, right? Did you guys see the terrible Coca-Cola commercial this year? It was
Want more Inside Jam? Subscribe to our YouTube channel for shorts, panels, podcasts, and more. In your shorts feed, enjoy a daily dose of best practices from tech experts and leading solution providers, while long-form panel discussions and keynotes, recorded live every quarter, go deep on important industry topics. And don't miss our collection of regular podcasts, keeping you informed on the latest trends. We're hard at work collecting the best enterprise technology information from around the globe, so subscribe to be notified of our next upload. Now, let's get back to the show.
The tools that we have today give you about 10-second clips. So if the clip that you're watching is about 10 seconds, be cautious, right? Some social media platforms have started to say this is AI generated content, which is awesome. And if you read the comments, which I always do because they're just, people are hilarious. Everybody's falling, right? I would have fallen for this if he hadn't told me it was AI.
Yeah, I'm seeing a lot of that on Facebook. So most of us know there's that huge snowstorm in Colorado the other week. And so you go on to social media and you're seeing all these videos of cars crashing into each other, of like 100 car pileups. They look really real. And then you go into the comments and you're like, oh, yeah, like people are pointing out certain things like, oh, did you see these cars crashing into each other? But there was no debris. Did you also notice this car also had like, it didn't have a trunk. It had two fronts. And like, there's all these little things that, you really need to look at to realize that these things were AI generated. So that's really dangerous.
But the thing is that if AI is so innovative and it's so fast, right now we can see these things, but in the next 6 months, it will be so perfect. How are we going to be able to know if it's true or no?
That's a great question. I mean, I think that's the challenge is there's something in artificial intelligence called the uncanny valley. And it is our unique and innate ability as humans to spot when something's just not right. It's like this, it's hard to explain. It's like this deep feeling in your gut, right? One, it doesn't make sense, right? Logically, there's this video, and I just posted the NPR thing of a snake slithering through this guy's bed at night and his cat attacking it. Okay. Wow. Why would you be videotaping yourself at night in your bed asleep? Like, who does that with infrared, right? Okay, so that's one to tell. Two, is it logical that a little house cat attacked the snake? Are there things within the video that don't make sense? And one of the things that they talk about is the focus. If the focus is perfectly on like somebody's face, if it's just like camera ready, professional quality videos, which we just don't do, right? Like humans, we're not good at that. I've taken videos where half of it I was pointing a little bit to the ground, right? That's just kind of the way that when you're in a very heightened emotional experience, you just don't make the best, videography decisions. So if it looks perfect, if it looks too good to be true, it doesn't make sense. That's when we have to use just our instincts to be like, let's take a pause, right?
I participated on a virtual conference last week, and the speaker, it was very interesting. They gave you like cues to look at for when trying to detect if a video that you're watching is, AI generated or not. Now, mind you, you have to be very quick at what you're looking at, but the one thing they said to focus on was look at the background. And most images, videos have a equal horizon. They have a horizon where if you look in certain directions, everything meets equally. And they showed this room that, had a couch and a sliding glass door window. And I was like, yeah, that looks pretty good. Completely off. And then when they put the lines that showed where the focal point should have been, I was like, oh. But when you're watching the video, it's hard to see these things and pinpoint. They were, when it comes to people, pay attention to the teeth, the differences in the eyes. They had one of Obama where his hands were like this, and they couldn't figure out what to do with one of the fingers. So it was like missing and then started again on the other side. Like the desk didn't have it didn't look right, like, because they didn't meet right. So like the arm of the chair was right here and the desk was like over here, but kind of like so it's like to the natural human eye, all you're paying attention to is the story. You get so focused on what the video is about. Most humans, they're not going to pay attention to that kind of thing. So it's we, as technologists, we have to be more aware of what we're looking at so we can ensure that if something happens and our leadership has a deepfake video put on the internet, that we're able to, we would know, because like our leadership would not make this video. This is not something, he or she would say, but it's being able to spot that instead of being like, is that real? Is it not? But most humans are going to see that. And, we believe what we see as humans. So.
Yeah. To Laura's point, a 10-second video, right? 10-second video, like you're not looking at that stuff, right? Someone looks at the video like, oh my God, that was crazy. And then they'll go on to the next thing, right?
And it's perpetuated by our sense of wanting to inform, right? So one of the things with social media that's so challenging, especially places like Facebook, is that people will read the headline, they'll watch the snippet, and they will share it without taking the time to think through, does this make sense, right? In the past, it used to be for snowstorms, right? They would take a video from previous years and try to say that happened today. And what the point of the videos typically are is to elicit an emotion in you, because it is still, at the end of the day, financially motivated. For every click, right? It's clicks get money, right? You get so many cents per click and so much engagement. And the more it blows up, the more money you make. And ultimately, it couldn't be innocuous, right? It could be completely innocuous. But then artificial intelligence was used during the last presidential election, where Biden's voice was cloned and it was sent out to constituents in a state. And that is when it becomes really harmful, when it's creating misinformation and disinformation campaigns.
For sure. Where I live, moose do walk through the village and herds of elk are seen in town. Like few peace outside sliding doors when there's a dog inside. So those things are real where I live. So, but it's hard. It's hard to discern. And it seems like a lot of that stuff is out there to elicit, as Laura said, an emotion, but it seems like they want us to have more negative emotions and more fear around those things. So definitely not positive. Well, next, let's look at the real world experience of today's threats. These attacks feel faster, more personal, and often more confusing than traditional incidents. It's not just about ransomware or hacking tools. It's the human manipulation, the unpredictability, and the lack of clear warning signs. Let's explore why today's threat landscape feels so different and what that really means for the people and your teams on the front lines of defense. So, Quintana, why do attacks feel more human, more personal, and are more disruptive?
Because everything that we've been talking about, because we no, because we have to be able to discern from the real from the fake and be able to ensure that what is real is shared correctly throughout our organization, and ensuring that, again, um that what we're doing is actual beneficial and risk intensive for the organization. It feels personal because it affects us. I would love to see it. I mean, I've somebody created an AI character of me, and I was like, oh, she's cute. I better not see, like, I don't want to see her anyway. Um, but it's because it's so easy for anybody. It could be our grandmother. It could be our grand, like I used to post like baby pictures of my granddaughters when they were born. I don't do it anymore. I stopped. Um, and even though like I adore them and I love, seeing when I'm with them or sharing with them, but I'm like, I don't want, let them, they're going to have their own things to deal with. I don't want to contribute to their face being out on the internet and being able to, be cloned or somebody taking their identity. So it's a lot more personal because, we don't, it's harder for us to control. It's easy. In all of the years of the internet's being around and as much data as we've put out there, we have now created a free for all for anybody to do whatever they want with our data. And that's what the personal aspect of it. For me, I am a control freak, and I don't I understand that my data is out there, but I'm a lot more mindful of how it's being used. Like, I'm not going to give you more information or anything about myself than you already have. So just being, keeping track of what out there, how is it being used? I just watched a show the other day where somebody, their identity gets, they put these people, it's I don't know, rehab centers. They kidnap people, put them in rehab, and then take their identity. And they're really not getting treated. So their information's out there, the social security card, they're, getting, people are filing taxes with their information. It's just, mind you, this stuff has been there forever, but now it's hitting close to home, and we don't have control over when or how it's going to impact us.
Right. Gael, what's it like responding to incidents with misinformation? What are the challenges around that?
The challenge about that is because the attacks are targeting people now. They are not targeting the system like before. So not knowing how do I explain that? Not knowing how the attacker read employees' mind is really an issue, because like when there is an incident response without an incomplete information, it's going to be hard. I mean, to be honest, that's not my my area of expertise.
That's okay.
Mm-hmm.
Other ladies' thoughts on that? I mean, because things happen around us in those incidents, and if we have the wrong facts from something else, that can be really detrimental as to how far that attack can go.
I think for SOC teams, and my team doesn't lead a SOC, but we very much spend a lot of time with them. We spend so much time researching prior to even getting to the point of talking about an incident. I don't know if you all had any experience in the last few weeks about the Shai Hulud incident, right? And so what's really interesting about the Shai Hulud is it's a third-party vendor attack. It was non-malware, not detectable, and you couldn't identify it using regular signature-based products, right? So we couldn't see it with a lot of our own tools. What's really unique about this space today is that this isn't the first time. The first time it came out was in September, and it's installed early on, right? Within the CI/CD pipeline. But to identify that you're vulnerable for it is kind of like if you all experienced Log4j a few years back. It's just very challenging to identify one thing in one place that you may or may not use. And so we spend a lot of time identifying all of our systems, all the underlying infrastructure. Like imagine if you just had to look for one file within your entire file directory. It just takes a lot of time. And these are the type of attacks that are really changing the way that we really respond. All of us have probably a SOC, right, with a SIM and a SOAR, and you probably have all these tools to do detection, right? If you're in a bigger company. But if you're a small business, you are right for the picking, right? Because they don't have the funding for it. They don't have the technology. And most small, medium-sized businesses pay the ransomware. When they do get a ransomware attack, they are paying for it. And a lot of businesses, I recently attended an IAPP event. Cyber insurance is really changing. Cyber insurance used to be, hey, we trust you. We're going to send you a questionnaire. We're going to assume that what you told us was true. And now they're verifying, they're validating that you actually have those controls. And if you don't, and you put in a claim, they're not going to pay it, right? Because you're committing fraud and you shouldn't do that. But also because you're not doing your due diligence. So what they're asking is, small, medium-sized businesses, we want you to do your job and actually protect your infrastructure. And then if you get hit, we're here to help. But you've got to do your job first.
Coming from a small business nonprofit space, that's what you're dealing with. Before I came on, I don't think anything my organization had cyber insurance. Now we have it. But because we are a nonprofit, and we rely solely on, SaaS providers, it's now my responsibility to ensure that the SaaS providers are doing their due diligence. Some of the tools have a shared security model, which I think is a farce because I get it. I have to do it's a shared responsibility. However, you're housing all of my data. So, I'm accountable for it. You're responsible for it type thing. So I think it's just a matter, to your point, Laura, not everybody does have a SOC. Not everybody has SIMs in place. You're dealing with truly, most small businesses have remote workers. Some of them don't come in-house. They only see each other, at team meetings or something like that. So you rely not only on the users of the devices to make sure the antivirus is updated, make sure they're applying the patches on their machines, just to make sure that the basic security hygiene is in place. And then they're utilizing their IT technologists to do, the heavier lifting and ensuring that those other mitigation processes are in place.
I think I just wanted to touch one point about feeling personal, right? The attacks that feel personal. And what I think it's important is that business email compromise is a really big thing, right? So you all probably know people use the same username and password, right? They're not supposed to, but they do. And then threat actors get into those systems. There's actually like threat actors that they just specialize on getting into systems. That's all they do, right? But then they will, once they've gotten in, they'll gain persistence, and then they're going to read all your email with AI, right? And they are going to identify you, and they're going to figure out what is your language, and they're going to look and speak and talk like you. And that's why it feels so personal, because those fishes that come after that, they do know you. They know your product. They know your services. They know everything about you, and the context of the messages that will come after that and the ransomware attacks that come after that are personal because they were tailored especially for you.
Yeah, I think, with the AI approaches, there's a lot of sophisticated phishing attacks, right? Think back maybe like 10 years ago, like phishing, all the tells would be like, oh, every word is spelled wrong, right? Everything about that email looks wrong. And you're like, okay, I'm not clicking it. I'm not opening these attachments. But AI is helping with that. Oh, spell check. Hey, cool. All this looks great. And so I think, going back to the foundation of really having strong user training is super important, right? Keeping users up to date on the rapidly changing threat landscape, especially for your industry, doing those phishing campaigns, having mandatory cyber training, but then also ensuring that when users report any types of potential threats, that the help desk or teams that are supporting that don't provide any guilt or shame, and being super supportive of users reporting those reports is really important to build that trust. Like, they don't want to feel like, oh, I'm stupid because I may have clicked this or I may have opened this attachment, and like taking that humanistic approach of like, thank you so much for reporting this. Please continue to be vigilant when it comes to phishing emails and things like that.
Because it's changed. The landscape has changed.
It changed. I'm going to add to Wayne, but you mentioned the workplace training. Honestly, I think in 2025 we should no longer have the 1 hour video to do every year because it's so boring. I feel like we should use real world example, like for like 5 minute video, and also give prize to the department who have more people do the training on time, and also lead by example. More often you will see that is like leader, they don't take the training on time. So if you don't take your training on time, why do you expect the people below you to complete their training on time? And with deepfake, just use something that happened really in real life, not make me do this 1 hour boring video like every year, and people just do it, they don't know the importance, you know what I mean? And also I feel like each department should have a training appropriate to the department. If I work in finance, a training for finance. If I work like in supply chain, and a training in supply chain, like captivating. I really feel that we need to do that more than having this boring 1 hour video that we do every year. I think it will help a lot because people just complete it as a check mark just to say that they do it. I think
We're way past we're way past the time of check mark cybersecurity training. Like, it has to be intentional. It has to be something that's going to stick with them. Because like you said, how can they trust that, we've even done it? Well, they can trust me because I have to create it. So I'm studying it as I create it. So that's how you know that I've taken it. But it's like most, everybody's busy. Like, oh, I'll do it later. I'll do it later. But the business also has to hold the staff accountable for completing the training. There has to be something, and I'm not saying like hold their paycheck or something like that, but there has to be some kind of consequence. We're not trying to start an uproar. Just some kind of assurance that the training is going to be completed. And it's our responsibility, or the team's responsibility, to make sure that the training is engaging enough for them to want to complete it. So
I think going on that is the psychological premise of how you remember things, right? Watching a video may not be the way you remember it. Reading it may not be the way. I strongly encourage leaders to consider doing exercises, doing tabletop exercises, because there's no better instructor in life than to fail, right? Failing is not a bad thing. It's just an opportunity to learn. And you retain that lesson for a long time. So the issue that we've always had with tabletop exercises, really exercises, were just very IT centric, right? We were just thinking about what happens if we lose power. Well, we don't have just one use case now. Realistically, you can think about what happens if somebody steals your data. What happens if you need to recover from a ransomware attack? What happens if your data gets leaked? There's a lot of people involved in that process from a leadership perspective that sometimes we forget to bring to the table. We have to remember to bring in legal and public affairs. And there's just so many interesting facets, and just exercising that once or twice a year can really make a huge difference in the availability of your data later, right? And we're seeing it happen, right? There are studies that are showing that immutable backups are being used. Ransomware is not being paid as often because there are companies that are really investing in the technology that they need in order to, one, keep their cyber insurance, right? And two, to be able to get back up, because we used to worry about just ransomware attacks, right? It shuts down your computer, can't access it. Okay, great. Well, now they don't even need to do that anymore. They just need to steal your data and say that they're going to release it, right? And that's how we're seeing it transpire in the environment today.
Well, let's We discuss uncertainty because cybersecurity is evolving at a pace that most industries just simply don't experience or understand. The new technologies, the new regulations, the new expectations. And our teams are expected to stay ahead of all of it. So let's look at how maybe leaders and teams can create stability, structure, and yet again, that confidence, even when the future is anything but predictable. So, Gael, do you feel pressure in your role in cybersecurity to keep up with innovation without getting burnt out and without burning out the rest of your team?
I feel like when you work in cybersecurity, you will always feel pressure. So I do. And also with AI speeding up things, it's also increasing this pressure. So what am I doing? I'm just trying to stay up to date. My team also we try to stay up to date. Yeah, there's nothing else we can do because AI is increasing the burnout.
Are you seeing team members fall and leave these roles?
I don't know if it's because they can't find a job in this space or the space is, the jobs are being replaced by AI. But I think it's important for leaders to create a culture of learning and experimenting, going back to the not seeing failure or an incident as a failure or breakdown in the process. It's a learning opportunity. And as long as the teams have the space and feel like they can learn without ramifications and experiment the way that they need to, I think that would be helpful to the teams to addressing some of that burnout and letting the culture of the organization speak for itself. Some of that, the burnout has to come down from top down. Leadership has to stop and thinking that we are robots, because we are not. We are humans. If you want robots to do the work, then let them come in. Find one that has my judgment, my empathy, my thought process, my common sense. Please replace me with something like that. But I think it's just a matter of organizations have to begin to see the shift, and they have to care about the employees that they have enough to retain them and understand what's happening, but still give them the space to learn and, put themselves in timeout when it's needed.
So prioritize people, prioritize the human being, and also invest. I feel like leadership should stop chasing the tool, invest in people instead of investing in tools. Invest in training, it will help more.
Yeah, I feel that you shouldn't let the fear of the unknown with AI especially to stop you and your teams from progressing, right? Don't let that prevent you from developing your roadmap. Obviously be aware of the risks that AI brings. Be flexible. Try to incorporate AI where and when it makes sense in your environment, using your tools and your processes, right? We're constantly evolving, right? We know cybersecurity before AI is always changing. And so, not letting the unknown hinder your progress and maturing your cybersecurity organizations, I think is definitely really important.
I think you make a really important point, and I would just add to that. To start first with a governance policy, an AI governance policy, understand your guardrails, because everyone works in a different sector, and we highly encourage our teams to learn about all technology that's available. We budget time annually for everyone to get that training, but do not go putting your trade secrets into a publicly used AI tool that you bought on your own or your model, right? Don't do that. Right.
That's not what they do. What?
Information in public AI, so to learn from you. I'm just putting that out there.
They don't use that to train. What are you talking about?
Sure.
I am so kidding. I think it's important to maintain the knowledge of the basics. And I mean, like, the basics, like, what is RAM? What does high usage of RAM look like? Like, I mean, just really basic IT hygiene and fundamentals still need to be remembered, because a lot of people are coming in, I'm an AI expert. Are you? How are you an AI expert on something that's changing more? Like, how are you an expert in an area that is continually changing by the day, by the hour. So I think ensuring that we stay on top of what's coming, but also remember how we got to where we are.
I think that that's perfect because one of the things I try to advise leaders is as you're investing for your AI tools that are going to make things better, do not forget that you still need to do patch management and vulnerability management because that's how you're going to still get breached. Like if you're not installing your Patch Tuesday patch, especially the one that just came out recently, you are exposed to exploitable unauthenticated vulnerabilities. And that means that's bad, right? Like bad sandwich for everyone.
Yeah.
It seems like in any space, whether it's tech, whether it's cyber, whether it's data, whether it's AI, our leaders lose the sight of the fundamentals, and then they get so hyper focused on the hot thing at the moment. And, eventually AI, I mean, I think already AI is not the hot thing of the moment. I think other things are coming. And if we don't have those fundamentals, those foundations in place, we're not going to be ready for the next thing. We're going to be so focused and off track trying to deal with one thing where our fundamentals always bring us back to be prepared for anything. So, if you could sit down in front of an executive team and give them your best piece of advice for what to prioritize in 2026, what is that going to be from each of you?
Prioritize on people, invest on your employees, and stop chasing tools without clearing the problems.
Resources. Speaking from a team of one, I'm a single point of failure. I am a single point of failure. So I have designated backups, but they don't have the true skill sets to really support the organization in the event that I either win the lottery or decide this is not the place for me. So, I think it's a matter of really understanding what they need and stop. And goes back to the whole hiring aspect within IT. Stop letting AI generate your job descriptions because people apply for them and you're weaning out good people because you don't really know what you need because you've let a tool generate your job description and you don't really understand the work that goes into the role that you're hiring for. So put some human aspects back into it. I get it. You're inundated with 100 applications a day, but it's important that you really understand what you need and what you need that role to do. That way, when the job description is written, you really get people that are qualified for it.
I will go and
AI is eliminating people in the hiring process as well. I mean, they're writing the description and then they're saying, nope, you're not good enough.
Mm-hmm.
like an NY level role with a CISSP. That is my
And 5 years of experience.
suits type. 7 years experience suddenly as a newcomer. Yeah. I would say from a fiduciary perspective, right? We're talking C-suite executives. If you decide that you want to invest in AI technology, thoroughly vet it out with your team. Your team has to have the capacity to run these tools. If you are going to adopt tools and it's going to reduce noise and do great things for you, awesome. But you still need a human in the middle. You need a human to actually validate that the detections are correct, accurate, and that your responses are being done in a way that fits the needs of your business. And that actually needs more people, not less. It means that you need to invest in training. There are certifications now in artificial intelligence that have come out from IAPP, I think EC Council, right? There's several AI certs that are out there. And to be investing in your members, right? Like your current staff may need new technology training. So give them the time, invest in those individuals because training a new person, even if they say that they are an AI expert, which there are people now with degrees in artificial intelligence and certifications, great, but they don't know your business. Your people do. The best way to save money is retention, right? It is our goal, right? Number one goal in business is to do whatever our mission is. And our number two is to keep our people because the institutional knowledge, right? That tribal knowledge is incredibly valuable. Bringing in new people are not going to help you, right, really meet your mission needs because they don't know them yet.
Yeah, I think it's important for leadership to also, if if you are driving AI initiatives, to not just, dump a bunch of money into it, bringing on these new AI tools and being like, okay, well, like we'll figure this out. Like being really strategic and understanding, if you're bringing in AI, what is your end goal? Is it to help your teams do their jobs better? Is it to help with processes? Like really uh, lean into what is the result, because, AI can do everything and anything apparently. And so kind of narrowing down that scope, I think, is really important, right? So focusing on that from that fiduciary perspective, as Laura said, is important to ensure that you're not just dumping AI on your team and having them just figure it out on their own.
Strong messages. I mean, it seems like, we keep talking about human in the loop, and companies will fire the humans or let the humans go. But at what point will they do that with AI and say, yeah, no, this doesn't work for us anymore. I think we can let that go, or it's not serving our purpose. And I appreciate the fact, and it's in every space, every tech space, that they think that tools are going to solve the problems instead of people solving the problems, being enabled by the tools, being able to be more efficient, etc. So
All we have to do is watch any episode of Black Mirror or Death, Love, and Robots on Netflix and find out what happens when you let AI or robots control stuff. Just watch it. Or even have water on it.
people should watch about that. I mean, because there's plenty of shows or movies about AI gone askew, and the lesson at the end of the day is, well, yeah, it needs to partner with the humans, except for Terminator, obviously. But
Obviously. I watched The Net. I watched The Net the other day. I was like, oh my Allie. Oh my gosh. I was like, oh, this is when ransomware, they stole your identity for free and didn't realize that you could get money for it. They just was disrupting, networks and, changing code in the background just because. Who knew that in the late 80s? War games. That's another one. That's another good hub.
I think what's interesting about AI adoption is that it's not making it to the finish line. There are a lot of POCs, right? And there's recently a statistic that said that it's something like 80% of POCs never make it to production. So there's something going on that teams are just not able to get it to operationalization. And it takes time, right? There's huge gaps in what we expect from a tool and what it actually delivers. We did a POC this year with a company and a tool, and they said, right, in their information that they met all of our criteria. But when we went to test it, it didn't. And that's the fact of the matter is that, yeah, maybe your tool can do some really cool stuff. Maybe you can ask it how to do something, and it'll tell you rather than you trying to figure it out on your own. But at the end of the day, it still has to complete whatever the mission is of that individual product. And it's very expensive, right? Like if you spent 6 months doing a POC, how many people hours was that? How much time and effort and energy, even if you didn't pay for the product? And then you still get to the second part, which is you have to pay for the product. And these products are not inexpensive, right? For a small, medium-sized business, I've talked to vendors where they're charging, $35 per endpoint. Most companies can't afford that per month.
You look at it, you apply the 80-20 rule. And if you don't know what the 80-20 rule is, like when you're in a relationship, the person is either going to provide 80% of what you need and 20% of what you don't want. So your choice is you either go out and find somebody else that's going to give you the 20% that you do want and the 80% that you don't. But no tool is going to provide every single need of an organization. So they have to have a good understanding of, because like you said, Laura, when you look at a tool, they say they promise you the moon and the stars and the entire Milky Way. But when you get into it and get to testing it, you're like, this is nowhere near what you said that you could do. Or there's a lot of customization that's required within it to even get it to function in your environment. So it's just understanding what that need is initially and being able to accept the risk that goes along with, okay, this is what we know it can do. This is what we know it can't do. Either we adjust our requirements or we find something that's a little bit closer to what we're going to be doing.
And we can mess up with requirements. Let's be honest. Like, if it does not.
What we want, you said you could do it. That's why you need to ask them for trial period to try it before.
But even in a trial period, until you get the tool in your environment and understand what it's going to work with in your environment, because even the tool, the demo, it's like, oh yeah, we can plug this in. It says it'll work on, this separate VLAN or this network, or it only requires an additional 10 IP addresses. And until you get it embedded in your environment, plugged into your other tools and resources, that's when the relationship honeymoon is over.
Well, and all of the milestones. If you're a big organization, how many approvals do you need to get it installed in your network? That may eat up your entire POC, right? If you have and most companies do a 30-day POC, right? Proof of concept. And that's just not enough time to install it, configure it, and get all your approvals. I mean, I don't know how often your change boards meet. Some meet weekly, but you might need multiple change review boards to get the approvals to even get it plugged in.
Right. And don't let there be an incident or another high stakes issue that needs to, it takes the teams away from actually testing the product. So.
Yeah, I think it goes back to that fiduciary responsibility. Is like, if we want to implement these tools, how much does that cost? How much labor? What is the time and effort and the project milestones and the results, and really understanding what that looks like from a bigger picture perspective.
Well, it's so much to prepare for. Wing, how can you viewers best get in touch with you virtually? Are there any upcoming conferences or speaking engagements? People can meet you in person? Any new publications they can read?
Honestly, for me, a message in LinkedIn, not a cold connect, is appreciated. We probably all get a barrage of requests from folks that you don't know, sales requests. I honestly get an insane amount of AI-generated profile requests of people that want to join my network. So, a request with some type of message would be really great. Right now, I think being that at the end of the year, a lot of the local cybersecurity organizations are doing holiday parties, but looking forward to, Gael is having something in January. So hoping to attend that and her event there.
Well, that's a perfect segue. Miss Gael, how can viewers best get in touch with you virtually? And what the heck do you have going on in January?
My name on LinkedIn is Gael Kwandra. And it's not a lot of us, and then connect with me on LinkedIn. And I'm also program coordinator at Chile Tech. And this year, I'm going to have my third year of Chile Tech conference in Colorado. And then it's always the third Friday of January. We're starting the year by uplifting the community. And this year is all about climb and carry. So expecting over 200 people, we are going to have like 2 panels, 4 keynote, 2 workshop, motivational speaker, and then, come. And then I will be posting about that on my LinkedIn.
Yes, and we should all be supporting and uplifting that event because it takes a village. Miss Laura, best way to get in touch with you virtually? Any upcoming speaking engagements or things that you've written that people should be paying attention to?
Sure. So I will actually be speaking at She Leads Tech with Gael and some of the other panelists. So check us out. It'll be January 23rd in Inglewood, Colorado, and I'll post the link. If you'd like to check out issa.org, we have tons of resources and chapters all over the world. Recently got communication. We're trying to start 2 chapters in Africa, one in Nigeria, one in Cambodia, one in India. So, and we are trying to reinvigorate our London chapter and one in Korea. So, if any of that sounds of interest to you, please check us out for our chapter in Northern Colorado. It's NOCOISSA.org, which stands for Northern Colorado ISSA.org. And I am laura.harder@issa.org if you'd like to get a hold of me. If you do try to reach out to me on LinkedIn, I will tell you, if I don't know you in real life, I'm probably not going to connect with you. That isn't a you problem. That is a me problem, right? I am also a human being and susceptible to social engineering. So I do not connect with people I've not met, either like virtually in a conference like this or in real life. So please don't be mad at me. I just am protective.
World domination from all of you. Ms. Quintana, best way to get a hold of you. What do you have upcoming of note?
I'm doing something at She Leads Tech. I'm not sure what, but I will be at She Leads Tech in January. I just participated in a General Assembly magazine publication, so that you can find that on LinkedIn. As with Laura and Wing, I'm going to say mine a little bit more directly. If you send me a connection on LinkedIn, I will not accept it unless you put a note in there, because I need to know how we've talked. And I'm very intentional with my connections, because I want to be sure in the event that I need something that I'm not just cold calling. Somebody actually sent me a resume through my message on LinkedIn, and I was like, yeah, I can't help you, but by the way, this is not how you apply for a job. So all I ask is, if you send me a LinkedIn connect, just put a note in there, like where we've met or what remind me of the conversation, and I will accept it. Otherwise, I will not. It will sit there. I may not even be ignored. I'll just let it sit there. So,
Well, that's always challenging for us on the other side when we're trying to reach out, but reach out with intention and accept with intention. I think we that
I like that. Reach out with it.
it's hard because LinkedIn only gives you like 10 free notes a month. So you really have to be intent about your connections. Well, thank you to this incredible panel of women leading a way across this industry. As we wrap up today's episode, one thing is clear. The challenges keeping CISOs up at night aren't just technical, they are deeply human. AI is shifting how teams operate. Modern threats are blurring the lines between technology and psychology, and the future is evolving faster than anyone can fully anticipate. To our listeners, thank you for tuning in. If you enjoyed this episode, share it with a colleague who's looking for a conversation that goes much deeper than the surface of tech. And be sure to subscribe and share on your favorite social media channels. Until next year, stay curious, stay prepared, and stay connected. Happy holidays.